Well, in evaluating everything, I'd say that one thing you come up with is time for a sense of urgency more than it is panic. But very disappointed after watching the film. I came up with two things that stood out incredibly well. We did not play with the sense of urgency from the opening tip, losing that to the first play, missing a three to and let them get going, and then they hit shot after shot after shot. And I guess watching it in person, the shots seemed like good shots, and watching them in film, they made some incredible shots, at least five incredible shots, and all of them were threes. And I'm not sure I'd want those guarded any different, but I'd want us to do a lot more offensively, a lot better screening. Adrian walked around half the night like he was dead tired, which doesn't totally surprise me. It's almost like things catch up, and and then the lack of practice, with players. I mean, Keith, felt bad for him because we put him in a situation when Trav got in foul trouble. We were going to play Keith from the get-go, and when Trav got in foul trouble, we had to play more minutes, and the kid hasn't practiced in a couple of weeks. So because of that, there was no timing on things, and we looked a little dysfunctional, which has happened a couple times this year, and we found ways to fight through it, and this time we didn't. And I still say they deserve some credit for it, and we deserve some blame. And we got 3 weeks left of the season, and it's a big 3 weeks. We got some big games coming up, including the first one against Purdue. Their record might not be as good as some, but if you look at their games they've played and you go through those games, they've been in every game but I think one, and are coming off their best performance against Indiana. They do a couple things that'll bother us. They play probably by far the most physical team we'll play all year, I think. They play 10 guys 10 minutes or more. I think they played 8 guys 18 or 16 minutes or more in the last game, which is unbelievable. And so they're just going to keep bringing waves of guys at you, and I don't know where we'll be as far as who'll be back. I mean, I know Dawson won't play on Thursday, but Appling, no clue right now. He played a little bit. You guys watched him. You guys saw him. A little rusty, which I understood. Hand didn't seem to get any worse, and yet when you watch him shoot or pass the ball or things like that, you could definitely tell that it's not back 100%. So you look at some of the teams, and everybody had almost given up on Wisconsin. They come back and get some big wins. There were times people were looking at Ohio State wondering what's happening. Nebraska's won 6 out of 8 games, and if they keep shooting like they shot against us, they're going to win some more games. And yet, if we don't start playing with a little more passion, I think the hardest part, we played with incredible passion. Adrian comes back, and I think we just stood around waiting for him to do something. And he's got to learn to play with our guys again too. He's out a month and just made some poor defensive decisions, and our break is not anywhere near where it was. Now it really was pretty good against Penn State, but we just kind of walked it up the other night, and most of that was the guys taking it out of bounds and the guys down the middle. So we got to get Costello and Payne playing better, and we've got to figure out where Appling is. But I think the one thing I'm going to do is whoever practices is going to play this week. I can't. Sometimes you look at teams, Kyrie Irving that's an exceptional, that's an all-star player, number one, but it's a team filled with a lot of other stars. When you try to move 2 and 3 guys around, if you don't practice, you can't throw one in. And that's been a little bit of a problem for us that I think I'm really going to take a look at myself and figure out that I'm just not made that way. We got to practice like we're going to play. We got to get back to doing the word drill and having some fun in practice and getting after it a little bit. And who can't play, can't play, who can't play, can't play, and we'll go from there. Questions?
So, Tom, if you have no clue about Keith on Thursday, did he have a setback yesterday then?
No, he had no setback, but you saw him play, Joe. I mean, we keep asking the same questions. No insult to you, but he took a 12-foot shot and missed it by 13. That's not good, you know. And like I said, he's a tough kid. I didn't see any setback. I just don't think it's going to be. AP's was a situation where we sat him out longer. It was not his wrist. He played with it before. We knew it was the plantar fasciitis. We knew it. Keith it limits his motion. Every time he passed the ball, you don't see any snap on it. He could get better today, tomorrow, the next day, and it could still linger. And I guess the next major decision I'm going to have to make, if it lingers, shutting him down, you know. I mean, I have no clue. It's kind of his call, how he feels. He came up to me 10 minutes before we had our talk and was shooting out there, said it felt pretty good, wanted to go. Great. Doctors gave no reason why it would, you know, create any other problems. And but it is with BJ, you know what you got, and that's the way it is. When it heals, and you go. With these kind of things, it's not that way at all, and it's hard. It's hard on a team. You know, the one thing we missed, we got punched in the mouth the other night. Now, we got punched, and we didn't respond very good. But my punchback guy is my toughest guy is sitting there not throwing any, and we got to get him back, but we got to keep him healthy. So I don't know what to tell you on it. I really don't.
Tom, you tell us, go talk to the players a lot to get their sense. And two things came out of the locker room to me that I wanted to ask you about. First, you love communication among players, player-coach teams. And I asked AP, as a senior, does he have to take more of a communication role? And he said, not on this team, you're the communicator. Could that be a big indication maybe of a problem area? And then
sure, that's the reason I don't have a captain. Mm-hmm. I mean, but we've done just fine without it. And you know what the problem is guys were playing their roles, and AP comes back, and you know he's important, but he's got to play within the framework of helping the other four guys. It's not it's not just him doing his thing. So it's hard because, you know, he comes back and wants to make up for lost time, and they've been playing pretty good in certain ways, not as effective, but hard and maybe executing better. And by the way, just for your own reference, there's never a time when seniors don't take over a team somewhat. Do we have a true guy? But Adrian's got to do more communicating with his teammates, to be honest with you, if we're going to be a great team. Keith has done a better job of that. Adrian was doing a good job of that. The month off has really hurt him. You know, again, I keep using Ryan Kelly, so he comes back and has a couple of good games, and we all, you know, I was a little bit amazed by it too. I'm sure Mike was amazed when Kelly came back and got 40 or whatever he got. But, you know, I don't know what to you guys. To me, he looked dead tired. I mean, it never came out of it. And that's, you know, what happens. You play on adrenaline for a couple games, and then, you know, reality sets in that you missed a month. So I don't know if it was some of that. I don't know if it was a lack of respect, which I sure hope not. I don't know if it was, you know, sports works in so many mysterious ways, but when I was asked by one of you, do you think the announcement of the Michigan game, if that doesn't jack you up, you know, then I'm not sure, then our team better get a heart transplant, because that shouldn't make you feel worse. That should make you feel better, you know, just like if anybody else loses that's at the top. I mean, it gives you a better chance to accomplish your goal. And if you're just going to sit back because they lost when you got 6 games left. I mean, it's not like it's the last game of the year. That I probably answered it ignorantly because it was such a ridiculous question, and yet probably one that you probably should have asked because players nowadays, you know, it's a little different. So um, I think all those are excuses. I do not think when we lose a jump ball, we give up a three, we turn the ball over and we miss four layups in the first half. I'd say that's more the reason than even leadership or anything else, to be honest.
Tom, I want to ask you about another guy. You won't have Brandon Dawson. The last few times you've gone to Purdue, he's morphed into an All-American the last couple of years. And you talk about those performances and what it's given you, and then not having him Thursday, what that means.
Well, Brandon Dawson, like Appling, is one of our tough guys. You know, I mean, he's one of our strong, tough, physical guys. I mean, I'd have liked to add him on Petway as an example. But you know, we know what Purdue's going to do because they've done the same thing. For me, it's been 30 years of the same thing, and that is in a complimentary manner. Let me say that they play so hard and they play so physical, and Brandon's one of those physical guys. You know, it's like when we didn't have him against Louisville, a very athletic, physical team. Purdue can be a very athletic, physical team. So, yeah, we're going to miss him. You know, we're going to miss him a lot. I'm missing him a lot, but that is what it is, and there's nothing we can do about that. So I think Brandon did a good job, like Gary has done, like people have done against us. I look at Pitchford. You know, I'm sure every minute was, hey, how come you didn't recruit me? You know, and so that happens when guys go back to their home area, and Brandon has done a great job for 2 years, and hopefully he'll do a good job as a cheerleader because we'll miss him as a player.
Tom, I didn't go yesterday.
You didn't miss much.
I watched the game on TV with a bunch of Spartan fans. You got to try that sometime. It's very interesting.
I do it with 15,000 of my closest friends every day.
They have a lot of answers, as you might have. But one thing I said, I guess this is a question, sometimes the other team just hits shots.
I wouldn't have said that in the press conference after. When I watched the film, in fact, I almost did something off the wall. I was almost going to bring you all upstairs and show you the cut-ups of some of the shots that I'm not sure I would have taken in a horse game. And, I mean, feet flying, legs flying, head flying, arms flying, net flying. And, you know, but that, too, has nothing to do with our lack of execution, our lack of running, our lack of energy. You know, there were times they were fairly well covered. So, you know, I'm not condemning our defense on all of it. But when you let a team get going, you know, and then when you don't make plays you need to make, they get happy. You know what? If our guys get happy, we make a lot of shots we wouldn't make either. It's just the way it is. And we let them get happy on the first one. And as stupid as it sounds, the next one they made might have been the toughest shot made in our arena. You know, a non-three-point shooter takes one right in front of me, and with a 6'10" guy draped all over him, it went in. Yeah, that's what you do. You open the door, and, you know, I mean, again, I know everybody hates my football analogies, but, you know, it was the Super Bowl. It happened to pros, and they didn't deal with it well. And when it happens to college guys, you know, they don't deal with it well. And then you got to give Nebraska a lot of credit. I mean, I do. I really do. Disappointed as I am in our guys, but I give them credit. You know, it looked like from the opening tip, this was a game for them to make a name for themselves, and that they did, along with a 6 out of 8 game winning streak. So, yeah, it wasn't all bad defense. It was some good offense by them.
Tom, when you talk to Gary Harris over these past couple weeks, as he's going through the shooting slump, how easy or difficult is it for you to get a read on kind of where his head's at and his mindset through all of this?
Well, it's always difficult. You know, the one thing you usually have on a team when you have a leader, you know, when Draymond was there, and I talked to him Thursday, you know, you could get the inside on what's going on, you know. Gary, I think, is just feeling the pressure of everything, but he's a very quiet guy, as you know. You guys all interview him. I have some quiet guys. There's Denzel, and then there's the rest of them, and so a lot of those quiet guys that don't have a lot to say, it's harder to get a read on them. I got a better read on Gary. Gary and I have had some, I think, great talks in the last couple of days, and maybe the last week actually, where he's opened up about some things that college guys go through, and great players go through, and if you really look around the country and took the top 20 players in the country, all of them have had a 2 or 3 week deal like this. And I think it's why I went on my rant. I'm not going into it's one reason. It's why I talk about the NBA pressures and all that. That's another reason. But I still there were some bright spots. Defensively he was pretty good. He hit all 7 of his free throws, so I think that helps get you back on track. I swear, guys, some of those drives I thought he got. Well, I know he got nailed on a couple of them, and then it's hard when you're struggling already, So I still have a lot of faith in Gary because he does what I ask all players to do when they struggle. He does it when he's playing good. He spends time in here. He spends time in the film room. He spends time in the gym. I think where Gary struggled and the one step he had to take, he had to open up a little bit. He had to quit trying to handle everything himself. And, it's a good, bad quality. He doesn't make excuses and he doesn't say anything wrong, but he also doesn't, get it out of his system. And I think, I think when those guys were hurt, he felt even more pressure to do well. When those guys are hurt and missing, teams can put more onto him. I really think it hurt Keith Appling when that happened, and that's what I'm trying to tell Gary, and then you get guys back, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you think they're back, but you haven't practiced with them. I mean, Keith didn't practice, like I said, at all, and you got to have timing in this sport, It looks like we're standing around a lot more and just trying to get it into AP. And he's done a good job of scoring and a decent job of passing it out, but he hasn't. Maybe we got to do a better job of screening and rotating the ball and running and running and running. And that was the worst I've seen him run in 2 years. And maybe he's a little worn down. Maybe, he's trying to get that second wind, and maybe it was just one of those days. So I've been told by a lot of people, move on, burn the tape, go forward. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to learn from the tape today, spend time with some guys today, and then get after it tomorrow. And I mean get after it. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Tom, as long as we're talking about getting a read on guys, what was your read on Costello last night?
Well, I wasn't really thrilled with some things, but he's been playing awfully good. And there again, sometimes when you're on the floor and maybe AP is not doing what he needs to do defensively, and then Costello gets caught, guys have to play together. And when you're not there, it's hard to do that. And, I did not think that a lot of our guys, there was no screwing around in practice. The night before the game, they were great. But there was no, there was something missing. And as I said, we don't lose many jump balls. And as dumb as it sounds, the jump ball, my analogy, which you have to hear, is we talked about the center snapping it over the head. The guy who ran it out 108 yards deep in the end zone, that's where it may have started. We talk about the first shot, the jump ball, even when we lost it by a foot, you kind of start looking at it and you start questioning whether your guys are as ready as they need to be. And they've been through a lot, though. I'm telling you, when you don't know if guys are going to play or not going to play, when you're kind of looking for Keith out there, and I know Joe said to me, I saw him shoot and it looked pretty good, and so my assistant said, and then, and probably players are saying, is he going to play or not? And I think another big factor in that game, it's 15-13, and we get those two guys go out with 8:50 and I think 8:30 left in the half. That was, with Payne and Trice out, both of them have been playing pretty well last couple games. I think that too was a big damaging blow to a team that's already a little bit, not guys playing together. And so we had different lineups in there and playing against a team that was athletic, that was tough, that had their big shot at better than their guards, and we just didn't deal with it.